Greetings, world. Greetings, fellow enjoyers of Ghost Recons. I'm going to just give you a review of all the new Tier 8 weapons, both the jungle as compared to the Modmaster versions, in case you don't have them, give you an idea what they're like, as well as my personal opinions. Now, I'm just an average player, as you know, and I'm sure people are going to ask why I have so many Ghost coins. That's because I basically decided one day to just invest a lot for during the happy hour, so I never have to spend again, and that's what I did. So, before you ask, that's the reason why I have so many Ghost coins. So from left to right, we'll start looking at the assault. Now, let's first look at the jungle, the M28C jungle variety. This is as you can see, a close quarters weapon. It's got a 24 control, which is pretty crummy. It's not very good in anything but close quarters combat. Let's go to the firing range. You can see the recoil is just tremendous. That's in standing and behind cover. So, but it is very good in CQC. I'm particularly hip firing. A map like Tomsk. Very, very good, and of course after the patch, with the lack of ready times, pretty much, I use it on Tomsk, and that's pretty much it. Very, very good for CQC, and pretty much useless for just about everything else. The pistol, I'll discuss the pistol now, the Eagle. A lot of people don't like it. I've been able to do decently with it, but I rarely switch to my sidearm. The few instances where I did have to switch, it was fine. I was able to get some 30-meter headshots with it occasionally, and for CQC, it's decent. I mean, there are a lot of other choices. Obviously, there are a lot of good pistols, ranging from the Wild Boar to the 45T to the Red Hawk AE edition. Of course, the pistol loses a lot of its damage at long range. You can see. Yeah. Wow. Took me almost an entire clip to kill a guy. And then, if you get consistent headshots, that was a critical, okay. But I think up to 30 meters is quite good. So, yeah. I personally would endorse the Desert Eagle, but that's just me. I'm hardly an expert at this game, just someone who enjoys playing it. Yeah, by the way, and if you haven't seen the jungle in action at range, the jungle version, well, I mean, I hate recoil to begin with, but I mean, as you can see, it is just a bitch to control. Ugh. Just awful at anything more than 30 meters. Even at 30 meters, maybe 20 meters is probably optimal for this weapon. Yeah, it's just got, so close quarters weapon, and that's about it. So let's move on to the Modmaster version, the very nice, and this is the Slayer skin in case you don't recognize it, the M28. The Modmaster's version. Now I built this for long range, obviously. Bipod, muzzle brake, long barrel, extended mag, collapsible stock. So yeah, 58 damage, 550 fire rate, 89 control, 64. 89 accuracy, 64 control. Clearly the best assault rifle. Someone is inviting me. No, it's clearly the best assault rifle on hand right now because it does the most damage. It's probably, well, it's not the most accurate, but certainly the control is quite decent. Now, as to why the scopes, let me just explain now. The reason why I use a phantom scope is because I play on a super shitty laptop, and if I were to use an open reflex like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry seems to, let's just see. At 60 meters, you can kind of see the head, but anything beyond that, it becomes very, very difficult to see. I mean, I can do it on a firing range, obviously, but you know, in the heat of battle, it's significantly more difficult. So I prefer I prefer the Phantom Scope because it gives you the option of, it has the nice crosshairs to delineate the dot and things like that. This is a very, very good weapon, but I'll voice the complaint that maybe other people won't and say that this is not a super weapon. This is, and I'll get to that later, this is not a Type 95 SD jungle. This is a nice weapon, but it suffers from some issues that most assault rifles suffer from. And this is just my humble opinion as an average player. You know, take it with a grain of salt or whatever. Fire rate, in my opinion, way too low. Now, fire rate is actually important in this game because fire rate has a relationship to recoil. The amount of recoil a weapon has can be influenced by the fire rate. So even though it has a 64 control, a very low fire rate of 550 makes it jump a fair bit. It's not impossible. You have to fire out of cover. Obviously, it was a bipod. As long as you keep it at a one times magnification, it's okay. I mean, it's quite very, very little recoil at the short ranges. At 60 meters as well, 70, pretty good as well. If you magnify, of course, you can see there's significantly more jump, more vertical recoil. Thank the gods, there's not any horizontal recoil, very little at least. But as I said, I like the Phantom Scope on this for the reason that, you know, at 100, yeah, I could kind of hit that, but I like to get a better idea of where the enemy is, even if it's just to get the proximity and then scope back out, you know. But, you know, the longer the range, the more the recoil, and of course, the more the magnification, the more the recoil. You can see the difference. Very good weapon. Would certainly recommend it. Get the Modmaster's version when you can. Use it. But, yeah, assault rifles in this game are just not as good overall as light machine guns, certainly, and depending on the SMG, not as good as SMGs. Tend to have low fire rate. They're very accurate, but the damage is also topped by a lot of light machine guns, where then the accuracy is kind of irrelevant. But yeah, a decent weapon, a very nice weapon. I use it when I'm using my assault. I play all classes kind of equally. I try to be a team player, so whatever is needed. So yeah, nice. Now, those of you who know the Cause SD Jungle, it's a really nice shotgun. Very fast rate of fire of 227, 192 damage, decent accuracy. I can only, if you haven't gotten this yet or thinking about it, I can only recommend this if you like shotguns. I love shotguns. My shitty ping, however, prevents me from enjoying the shotguns to the fullest because it often registers blanks depending on the situation. But very nice. Now, originally, I was looking forward to the Modmaster version, which I have, of the Cause. Put a grip on, muzzle brake, long barrel for 200 damage at a severe reduction of fire rate. Now, you're going from a 227 fire rate on the Cause SD, and of course SD versions are always better in certain ways than the standard versions. SD versions are just kind of the best cream of the crop. To 170 for with a minimal increase in damage. I mean, if you're doing 220 damage, that might be, you know, reasonable, but it's, I mean, I wouldn't bother investing in this. I got it because I made the mistake of thinking it'd be really good, but whatever, I'm not going to throw it away. I probably won't use it very much. Obviously, it does more damage, but the fire rate is leaves a lot to be desired. You know, so yeah. If you're going to go shotgunning, use a shotgun, then try to use the Cause SD. It has superior stats overall. You lose a little bit in the department of accuracy, have a lot higher fire rate, and pretty much the same damage, more or less. So definitely stick with this shotgun. Very, very nice shotgun. So, for assault, yeah, for assault, the weapons of choice are, I think, the M28, and for CQC, even the Cause SD. I mean, if you're on Tomsk, you might as well just take the Cause SD with you. Now, that's what I think about, I also have the MK17. The MK17 has essentially been overhauled by the M28. There's no reason to use the MK17 if you have the M28. Considering selling it, probably will. No point. I also have the AK200, which is a piece of shit weapon. I won't even talk about that. Anyway, so that's my assessment of the assault weapons. If you're going to use an assault rifle, use the M28. It's very accurate. It's got decent stability. For assault rifle, very high damage. One thing I didn't mention about it, it lacks a burst fire mode, which is the only advantage the MK17 has over it. Now, mind you, when you actually have an effective burst fire mode on a weapon, that decreases the spread. It tightens the spread. It's not just fire tapping like I am now, which is what you're going to have to do at long ranges for the most part, unless you're amazing. But you actually have a tighter spread. But you don't have that option with this. But you can single fire, and if you tap fire, it comes pretty close. So just wanted to mention that. Moving on to the Recon. Recon's got lots of goodies. Let's look at them in, I guess, descending order here. The CPW, the Modmaster CPW, I built this for basically range, long barrel, accuracy, control, and so on. Very, very nice weapon. I haven't used it enough to really give you, I'd say, I certainly use it. And notice how I'm using the open, the small reflex. That's because the dot, as you can see, is bigger for me for this than with the, what do you call it, the open reflex that everyone else favors. They're not running with a 14-inch screen, right? So, but yeah, you can see it's quite accurate even at long ranges. Relatively low recoil, and that has a lot to do with it retaining even with a long barrel a 900 fire rate. So I mean, here it's deadly. Let's see, hip firing. Quite good. Quite good. Very, very nice hip fire mode. And at least with cover, even at 60 meters, it's quite deadly. And it does actually have a burst fire mode, which I can. But the problem with burst fire is burst fire really benefits from a high damage, and it has a high DPS, which is not the same thing as having damage per bullet. So it's not, I mean, if you really needed to, you could burst fire it, but I certainly wouldn't try it. I mean, this is not the kind of weapon you're going to want to use at 100 meters, even though in theory or in practice you can actually hit at 100 meters. Let's see what the recoil is like out of cover. Definitely very manageable, and I hate recoil. I'm not even good at managing it at 30 meters. Let's try it at about 60 meters. So at 60 meters, the recoil is out of cover is not that great. Yeah, but a good weapon. I would not actually say this is inferior to the jungle, the SD variant. They have two different functions. Obviously, there was a reason why I built this weapon the way I did with the grip and the muzzle brake and long barrel for, medium range encounters. If I'm running around on Tomsk, I probably wouldn't be using this this weapon. Probably not. Behold, what I probably might use would be, yeah, the SD variant, which is, got this insane fire rate of 1031, but has a lot more, even behind cover, vertical climb, as you can see, and certainly at this range. I mean, let's just compare. You saw how much that climbed when I was doing shooting there. Let's just get, without me even trying to control it. So instead of it's much, you can see that the recoil is significantly better, or more manageable at least with this variety. I think this is much more of an all-purpose submachine gun or machine pistol. Overall, all-purpose. This I would use in very close quarters, I would use this in medium to longish range. However, I am still a fan of the vaunted M960. It's not part of the new weapons, but let me tell you what the M960 can do that the others can't. Now, this still has advantages over the CPW. Well, for one, you can get extended magazine for 100 whopping rounds. That means you can use this as a kind of mini light machine gun. That's really, really nice. That's probably my favorite feature about it, in fact. The other thing is the higher critical chance. This has a 5% higher critical chance than the CPW does, which is really nice because you carry that over into hip firing. So let's hip fire with 6% critical. All right. And they have a whopping 19% critical when, or in my case, because that's my proficiency, when you hard scope. Scope in. And it has a nice 10% extra armor mitigation, so it does 10% more damage to armor. Overall, in raw DPS, yeah, the CPW beats it, but you know, there are a lot of situations when I'm around a corner, you know there's a guy there. What do? You know, you can. This is a light machine gun almost, so this is a very good use of the. If you want to mow guys down, you might want to do it that way. So I still use this, and I probably use it more often than I do the other one. And of course, the other advantage is it has burst fire and it has a high 45 damage, which means the burst fire is going to be deadlier. All right. You're going to have more damage per burst fire because it's burst fire per bullet, where it's concentrated in each bullet. The damage is concentrated in each bullet. Now, the KVSK SD Jungle Sniper, yeah, everyone knows it by now. It's really good. One shot, one kill, almost everything. Has a super low settle time. Now, for those of you who don't know, settle time simply means the amount of time it takes to have the sniper rifle settle down and stop the sway. So you see a bit of settling and boom. Right. There's not much to say about this. Suffice to say, most of the time, not all of the time, unless it's arm shot, this will OSOC one shot, one kill, just about anything. Save some assaults at long range. So, you know, it's nice. You know, it's a matter of preference whether you want to take this or a semi-automatic. I don't like the M14 very much when I use a semi-automatic. The cases I do use one, I tend to the SVD, SVAE, because it's got 150 fire rate and 92 damage, which is very high damage for a semi-automatic. Of course, it's a long barrel, so shittier settle time. I'm not a great sniper, so I don't snipe that much. Regarding the Modmaster version, well, you know, big surprise, I don't have it. And the reason why is it's just inferior in almost every way to the SD version. The SD version does more damage. If you go, for example, let's put a silencer. Let's do an identical setup to the SD version. Look at the damage reduction. The SD does 164 damage. This does 149 with the setup. The exact same setup, more or less. And you say, okay, well, you know, take the silencer off, put a muzzle brake on it, put a long barrel on it. Okay, that's a lot of damage, but in practice, it's pretty impractical. Well, what do I mean by that? Yeah, you can. First off, you see the settle time is significantly worse. Yeah, the damage is huge. But look at the reload time. It looks like he's going into slow-mo. So its practical application on the battlefield seems pretty limited. So I would not bother getting this. Do not invest in the Modmasters unless you have some particular fetish for the Modmaster version. It's just inferior in every possible way to the SD version. The SD is still the king of the snipers. As far as I'm concerned, I think most people. It's just the stats are just, yeah. Whereas you see with the M28, in case of the assault, you had a marked improvement in the quality of the weapon, its application across the battlefield. This, it's actually a reduction of quality in what you would be using it for. So I would stick with, M960 is still very potent. The long-barreled CPW, very, very nice weapon. I like those extra 100 shots, so I probably still would stick with an M960. Totally up to you, though. That's my assessment of what's going on with this. Do not bother with this weapon, though. Useless piece of junk. Unless, you can only afford it and you want some powerful single shot. But, if you want that, I'd probably go with the Nemesis. It's actually probably a better weapon overall. And finally, to the now, what I guess you could say, the most popular class in the game. You notice how the Type 95 came in and everyone's playing a specialist / support. Seems to be the case, at least. So yeah, let's look at the normal Type 95. This is not a useless weapon. This is fantastically useful. It does have inferior stats as a short-range weapon compared to the SD, which I'll get to. But by far, this weapon is the most stable weapon in the game. I mean, full auto, almost no recoil. "100 meters, almost no recoil. Let's try 130. Well, 130, but then you switch to burst, and then you have no recoil. Then you're getting these tight shots in the head on burst mode. Well, I'm not doing it too well, but sometimes I do. But it just has so little recoil. Let's try it at 160. So this is where it becomes a bit difficult, I guess. But still fairly reliable, even at 160 with burst fire, if you can hit the head. Well, that was a one-shot, one-kill, basically, with a burst fire. So what do I have to say about this weapon? Don't use it in CQC, but for big maps, long-range maps like Metro, nukes to a certain extent, certainly Robitech, this is an amazing weapon. I mean, this is, I think, in terms of accuracy and stability, the king of automatic weapons. There's almost no recoil. Really, certainly at 60 meters, it's like a laser. Certainly on burst fire, but also, I mean, what other weapon has this little recoil at that range? Or for that matter, full auto, at 100 meters. Very little. Very manageable, at least, to the extent that there is some recoil. All right. Fantastic, fantastic weapon for long range. And this is how I set it up. Bipod, muzzle brake, long barrel, which will give you a whopping 75 control. I think that's what makes this weapon so powerful. It's that control. Those of you who hate recoil, can't control it, and or both, this will be a nice weapon for you to get. Use the Phantom on this, obviously, for the reasons I explained prior. Switching to a short barrel, however, you're going to actually get inferior stats, significantly inferior stats to the Jungle SD version. The Jungle SD has a 864 fire rate at a damage of 46. This gets reduced slightly. So don't use this for anything but long range, basically, would be my recommendation. Excellent weapon, but keep it at long range. For the shotgun, same thing applies. Obviously, for what I said for the assault, that applies to the support. Jungle, yeah, this weapon has, in a way, broken the game. I mean, sometimes I use for some reason I like because I use this for short range, the 21 reflex. The dot's big and it's still decent at medium ranges. Very tight spread because of the higher fire rate, as you can see. This weapon, I mean, what's not to like about this weapon? It's, you know, the only thing you can't do with it is, you know, headshot people 100 meters, or maybe you can. I never even bothered to try. But let's see if we can do that. But this well, it's a bit difficult, this range. But yeah, it's obviously made for medium short range. But in short range, I mean, CQC, this thing just mows people down. Anyone who's, it's just insane. That was on burst fire, mind you. This is effectively the best weapon in the game. People know it. Everyone uses it. Every specialist I see uses some variety of this, unless they can't. The only reason they don't use it is if they can't afford it. I mean, before the Type 95 Modmaster came out, I still used the MK48 for range, but that's been supplanted by the Type 95 because it's just better at long-range combat. But this is the best weapon in the game. It beats every assault rifle. No assault rifle can compete with this. No SMG can compete with this. It's insanely accurate for a short-barreled weapon, and stable as well. I mean, you can even, well, certainly from cover though, you can easily full auto at 60 meters, more or less. I think, though, I probably would switch to burst in game. This is kind of like just taking the place of the old P90 SD War, and only it's even more overpowered. I mean, all I can say is expect a nerf. I'm not going to cry about it. I mean, this is a great weapon, but this weapon is, I think, essentially broken. It's like I said, the assault weapon is really nice. The M28, you cannot compete with this. If you're going toe to toe, I mean, let's forget all the ping and the hardware issues. Let's say you have equal settings. You're going to lose. I mean, you cannot compete in raw DPS here. This is just going to mow that guy down if you're going up against an assault. It's pretty overpowered. I just think expect a nerf. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do I use it? Yeah, but you know, when I play, like I said, I'm an average player. When I play against 5-star generals who are in the couple hundred ranks of Europe, I feel I have to use this because, you know, how else am I going to stand up to them sometimes, you know? So anyway, that's pretty much it as far as the weapon. Like I still have the spas. I like to use it sometimes. It's nice. The one-shot, one-kill. The MK48. I have fond memories. AK200, another weapon that really, look at the control and the accuracy, and it's kind of meh. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my assessment of the weapons for these. If you haven't considered them yet, then hopefully this was helpful. Get an idea. The Type 95, certainly for long range, is a very worthwhile investment. M28 is the gun the assault to go. The Jungle SD variety is the only one I would use as a shotgun. For Recon, you know, if you're going to use a single shot, the SD, KVSK SD is the one to go with. I like the Desert Eagle. Some people don't. It's up to you. Pistols, I don't think they matter that much. Short range combat, the 131 fire rate, yeah, 1030 is going to be pretty good. But yeah, the M960 is still worthwhile weapon to use, I think. And for those of you who don't know, I'll be posting a link. There are 10 tiers planned out, so expect tier 9, expect tier 10 as well. And you can look at the sheet that I'll the link with the pictures, and you get an idea of exactly what the weapons are going to be. Most likely. Personally, I'm looking forward to the Remington, I think 870, the shotgun. That I have a feeling it's going to do massive damage, one of those one-shot kill, one-shot weapons, but we'll see. As far as other varieties of the weapons, special SD or SD arcs or whatever, it's possible. You know, any way Ubisoft can make money, they're going to try to milk it. I doubt they're going to just go leave it at Modmaster's version. I guess we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope that was helpful and had some sort of explanatory power, and you have a better idea of, you know, what to go with and what not to go with. Just my humble opinion as an average player, but there you go. Possibly see you the next time. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.